Of how things will be changing here for the end of the week and the start of the weekend in the city with that cool arch. We start out with cloudy skies, of course, across the area. A little dreary. You're not getting much sunshine to work with in terms of waking you up and keeping your pep in your step for the end of the week. Then we'll see the snow showers work in. A light at the start could pick up on those grassy surfaces, and we'll have time to watch for some light to moderate snow. So it shouldn't be crazy snowfall rates or amounts, but this late week system bringing us some snow showers. So we start things off 3 o'clock in the morning. Friday, unfortunately, it is that morning commute time that we see that snow really start in earnest. I think we're looking at light to moderate snow through the morning commute. I think for most it does stay on the lighter side, and then the moderate snow really begins to pick up as we move into the early afternoon hours. You see by the late day commute, the system's very quickly, it's in, it's out, so it's not going to be with us for a long time, but it's just encompassing some of the traffic times that obviously gives you the problems. You're like, well, man, why couldn't that be like 8 to 4 a.m. Friday into Saturday? It's a game of timing, and unfortunately, we don't necessarily win when we're talking about a morning commute. So snow at 7 a.m. The accumulations are not going to be overly high. I think a lot of the snow will melt at the onset on some of the pavement. So 2 to 3 inches likely. We'll be watching for some slick spots on those bridges and overpasses, especially for tomorrow's morning commute. And again, people are just going to be going slower. Anytime you have snow, we have a lot of like brake tapping. You're driving slower. You should drive slower. So you're not going to get to work in your fastest time. Set that alarm a little early tomorrow morning. Colder air working in across the region, so that again will help to allow those accumulations to pile up, especially I think on the grassy surfaces. With our storm system moving east, moisture pulled to the north, not a ton of it. That's why snowfall rates aren't going to be crazy intense. But when we have these upper disturbances that provide the lift, we've got the moisture, we've got the cold air, we at least have some snow showers. So there it is, light snow through Saturday morning across parts of the Ohio Valley. And we look at temperatures again, a place like Kansas City and St. Louis overnight dropping into the mid 30s. I think by the time the snow begins, we're right there at that freezing mark. So Mike, that's why I think road conditions will generally stay okay, but expect slower than usual traffic.
All right, so what
here in the Bay Area, gloomy in San Francisco. When we look at that 7-day forecast, we've got more opportunities of rain coming back in. It has been active. It stays active across sections of the west. So we bring up your 7-day forecast, show you the days that you need to be, most aware of the rain chances. Today, we've got the partly cloudy skies. You can see from that live shot, we were a little bit more on the air of cloudy right now. Cloudy again tomorrow, but it is the weekend that brings in most of the rain chances. So Saturday, Sunday looking wet. Monday and Tuesday also on the soggier side. Even Wednesday of next week will at least keep some scattered showers around. And notice temperatures dropping too as we make it towards the longer range of the 7-day forecast. So at least a few scattered showers into Wednesday of next week. We bring up the maps. It's not just San Francisco. Other areas that'll get in on the rain as well. But San Francisco, your 2-day or rather 3-day total, be around 2 to 3 inches. A lot of that coming in on Sunday, but I think we exceed a ½ inch even on Saturday. So Saturday brings us some good rain chances. Sunday brings us even more rain chances. Across the west, a lot of areas, again, looking at 3 to 5 inch totals. Those are the yellow shaded areas. I think there will even be some spots that exceed 5 inches, so could get into that ½ club again. This is rain through Wednesday. Again, the weekend will bring more in the way of rain chances. Then we keep things unsettled into next week. There's the next low focused into the Pacific. Not hard to see it, right? And it's going to draw in that moisture. So once again, that moisture streaming into sections of the west. Already seeing some of that right now into Northern California, into western Oregon, western Washington, with some areas in eastern Washington and northern Idaho getting in on the snow. Look at the winds right now. Gusty closer to that low. We've got 38-mile-per-hour winds offshore, 22-mile-per-hour winds off to the south and east of that. So we will see the winds picking up again along with the rain. Seattle right now, rain and 39. Pretty miserable afternoon for you. No, it's still morning in Seattle, right? It is. Yeah, it's still morning, late morning. Rounds of rain heavy at times over the next 7 days. So the rainfall rates will change, but at times you could see some heavy rain once again. Snow will add up and pile up in those higher elevations. When we look at the flooding risks, Saturday into Sunday, we're going to be watching areas generally north of San Francisco. I think that's where our best chance is. Then Sunday into Monday, a little better chance to the south of San Francisco. But you notice it is Northern California into Central California that keeps the chances throughout the weekend. So once again, we watch for those high water issues. Los Angeles, 2 to 3 inches likely for you guys as well. Your rain chances get on the higher side as opposed to San Francisco. It's going to be Monday and Tuesday. So San Francisco, higher rain over the weekend. For Los Angeles, it's going to be Monday and Tuesday. Both days, I think we exceed 3/4 inches. So soggy start to the work week coming our way. Mike?
All right, Alex, thank you. The scale is a 1 to 5. You see there, Dr. Nab, being pros and cons to this.
Yeah, there's at least pros and cons to having the discussion and realizing understanding what's going on with hurricanes. And again, we talked to the researchers who put out this paper. They're not explicitly saying we need to use Category 6 right now, but they're talking about the concept of Category 6. So what would be the positives of entertaining the idea of having a 6th category? I mean, the goal of their paper was to emphasize that hurricanes are peaking out a bit stronger. And they've already succeeded at making that point. I mean, the discussion around the country has been pretty widespread. People are aware of that issue. And Patricia in 2015 is a warning sign of what is possible. So if that becomes a more frequent occurrence, we do need to talk about how much stronger hurricanes could be a little bit more normal in the future, but it's not happening so much now. But it is important because if you have a hurricane that peaks out at 190, 200, 215 like Patricia does, that is generally a lot more damaging than something that's a borderline Cat 5.
Right, yeah, so we talk about our damage, thresholds, or at this point, what we're used to, even on the high end, this would far outpace these.
Yes, and in the future, if hurricanes start peaking out more frequently, above 190 miles an hour, and if you were to assign a category to that, and you said it's a 6, not a 5, that would gain more attention, but is it the right kind of attention? Would people be responding from a category in a way that is going to get them to respond properly? Again, categories have their limitations.
I think we can all agree that you're right. The Saffir-Simpson scale maybe isn't the best way to convey the danger of a hurricane. It's the wind scale, right? But it's what everybody knows. It's what everyone in North America is familiar with, so this is why we continue with it.
Yeah, and one of the big points about all this is currently the Category 5 is open-ended at the top, but we haven't really had any Cat 6 hypothetical hurricanes yet. Allen was close. These 4 at the top were like Dorian and Wilma, 185 miles an hour. So it's not a problem in the Atlantic yet that needs fixing. So that's one thing I would say is don't start using a new category when it's not going to be used. Cat 5 in recent years and decades have been around a range that's as wide as Cat 4. So we don't need a new category yet. So that's why I think, please don't start using Category 6 right now, especially in real time.
Yeah.
It's too rare. And if you add another category, especially if it's not going to have any positives, you're going to add to confusion, I fear, because the categories already have a lot of limitations. But if you have a Category 6 on the scale, seriously, are you going to do anything? Are we going to tell people to do anything differently for Category 6 versus Cat 5? I think Cat 5 is sufficiently dangerous and catastrophic that you would prepare the same way for a 5 or a hypothetical 6.
So then at this point, are we
lower end right now? Sometimes people go on just a Cat 1 or Cat 2. Now you have even higher numbers, so they look at those lower.
Yeah, so now by comparison, a 1 or a 2 or a 3 might be perceived as even less dangerous than it's already incorrectly perceived. But a large, slow-moving 1 or 2 will always be potentially catastrophic, especially from water. The big thing about categories, though, is they don't convey hazard-specific, location-specific information. We're too obsessed with the storm itself. We don't need to categorize the storm nearly as much as we need to categorize what your risk is where you live. And so it's very poor at explaining the real risks that you have.
But when we look at what the practicality of it may be, if there were a need for a Cat 6, it would be decades from now, truly, when the atmosphere as a whole, global atmosphere, has changed and may actually support something that is a legitimate Cat 6, if you will.
Yeah, and in the future, we do need to start building better and start facing the possibility of having stronger hurricanes, stronger landfalling hurricanes. But even at that point, is it best to convey that with a Category 6 or with the maximum winds have peaked at 200 miles an hour? I think miles an hour get it across without trying, as a lot of people are still doing, is trying to come up with a new categorization system that conveys wind and water hazards. Just drop the categories. Focus on location and hazard-specific info.
All right, great conversation. More